Okay, do you have a client who the first time ever reached out to you on how you sell multifamily property? Maybe you're a landlord and owner of a multifamily property, or heck, maybe you're just an agent who's trying to get better information to serve their clients. Well, in this video, I'm going to talk to you how to sell a multifamily property, what I've learned this year, really getting even deeper into this type of property, what I've learned, mistakes I've made, what I've seen, and everything in between. Let's get to it. What's up, everyone? My name is Cameron Hines. On this channel, I talk about my real estate journey and also what it's like to be a part of eXp Realty and sharing all the knowledge I learned to help you as a real estate agent, an investor, or even just as a person. Also, if you are looking to join a great brokerage or even just have a discussion about whether you should or should not make that move to a different brokerage, this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me. You can call me, text me, email me, or even schedule a Zoom call down below. I love having conversations with those of you who are looking to make a move and make sure you make the right decision. I definitely have told people, hey, you probably shouldn't make the switch. It happens. I love being an honest opinion and being a neutral party to make sure you make the right decision. So that number down below or Zoom call is how you can get a hold of me to make sure we get the best decision for you when making that move. All right, getting into this video, how to sell a multifamily property. So I'm going to assume either you're an owner of a multifamily property or you're an agent who has a client who reached out to you, or you're just trying to get an idea of this is a good market class for you. Now, I am licensed in two different markets. I'm licensed in California, mainly operating in San Diego with my team there, and obviously living in Orlando, Florida, and having that be my main focus currently. But multifamily property, I've had definitely in these recent high interest rates and environment, I've definitely helped a lot more people get into multifamily, because what's funny is as rates go up, we start to see massive opportunity for buyers who are maybe looking to join forces, maybe they're looking to house hack. And I really do believe this current market, it's one of the best asset classes because large investing firms have backed out. And in most markets, they're not really jumping on those homes. So you kind of get either massive price reductions, sometimes up to 50 grand. You're seeing great concessions from seller. I actually just had a situation with one of my buyers of a multifamily property where we locked in at asking price. But, well, I got a couple points to the story. But so we purchased the home. Turns out it's $31,000 under appraised value. And not only that, we got all of the closing costs covered for my buyer. And that's crazy. Not to mention, these buyers now they're two military members, so they're using their VA loan. They're only doing a small 2.5% funding fee. Now they're getting into the property, and now they're in a situation where now jointly they're only going to be spending $1,500 a month a piece in San Diego. That's crazy. Where in San Diego can you live for $1,500 a month while building equity, while having someone pay half the mortgage upstairs? That's nuts. And the property is a half acre in San Diego. And we got plans from the seller, like $7,000 plans to build an ADU in the back, which they are going to jump onto right away and make it a triplex on the property. It's nuts. And that's what I tell people as agents or even investors, like multifamily properties, could be a great time. Yes, it sucks. Like as of today, the 27th of September 2022, rates are averaging 7% for a 30-year mortgage. That sucks, right? But at the same time, rates fluctuate, they change. What really comes down to is price, what you're trying to do, or what your client's trying to do, and making sure that you can provide the best value or insight to make sure you get the best thing for them or you. So, how to sell multifamily property? Look, I will tell you that multifamily property is something that, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've invested in before. I have friends who own 10 units or more as I slowly get into that space as well. And I don't know. Most agents just don't know how to sell multifamily property. Now, it depends on the market. I will tell you in the markets I'm in, for some reason, I rarely see massive teams or agents with multifamily property. Now, in San Diego, we'll stick to this point of this conversation. I will tell you there's not much multifamily like there are in other markets like Chicago and things like that. San Diego was never the best zoning for multifamily, so a lot of them are old. Like the property I just mentioned earlier, it was built in 1930. By the way, yes, we inspected it. That property is solid. They just do not build homes like they used to. But how do you sell multifamily property? Well, I'm going to attack it this way. So there's a lot of different ways going to set the sale of a multifamily property. One of the first things you should start with is what kind of buyer are you marketing towards, right? Because that's going to change. Now, it depends on the area, what type of multifamily property it is. What I'm going to assume in this conversation is that the property is between 1 and 4 units. We're staying residential here, right? Anything higher, we're going commercial. We're not talking about that. We're staying 1 to 4 unit properties. Now, there are a lot of medium and small landlords in this current market who are buying multifamily properties, right? So they sometimes, they don't mind if, let's say it's a duplex or triplex, all 2 or 3 units are rented out with tenants. Not bad. The issue that I find is that multifamily properties are generally owned by, mom and pop landlords. Not all of them, but a lot of them, depending on the market, especially in San Diego. So what you run into is that the tenants that are already there are well undervalued market rents. Now, California is not the best market for owning property because they have a lot of laws protecting the tenant more than the landlord, and it really screws you sometimes when it comes to getting the good market rent for your property. And I get that, but it makes it a little interesting, right? Now, I think in the current market environment, if you were to sell a multifamily property, I think at least having 1 unit vacant could be a smart decision. Now, hear me out, and here's why. So in this current environment, we are seeing a situation where a lot of home buyers who maybe don't have kids yet, maybe they do have kids, maybe it doesn't matter to them, or just a lot of younger men and women who are looking to join forces to buy a home or something. And house hacking is a fun term. I know Bigger Pockets has thrown it out there, and it's become popular over the last years. But I can tell you in this current high inflation market, these high interest rates, it really does shine. And I think if you're going to sell a multifamily property, having at least 1 unit vacant or 1 unit that will be vacant upon sale of the property is very important, because it just opens it up for another whole slew of buyers. Do you want to keep your property stuck to cash buyers and 20% down investors? Depending on, especially if it's a high priced market, you're probably effing yourself when it comes to selling that property. It's just my opinion, but I really do believe that. Whereas if 1 unit is vacant or going to be vacant at the sale of the property or before the sale of the property, now you have a whole nother avenue of buyers who are now opened up. It's don't forget, VA, FHA, they can all buy this property. Now that assumes that it would go VA or FHA. So if the property is a trash pile, it doesn't even matter. To be honest with you, you can open it up to conventional, but if your property is just completely unmaintained, it's just falling apart, probably not a good decision to do this. But we're going to assume that it would go FHA and VA. It's not a bad property. You upkept it decently, and it would go those prices. So I think having 1 unit that can be owner occupied upon sale is extremely important, because it puts you as the seller or your client as the seller in a great position. Because remember, if you know anything about selling a property, it's all marketing. If your home sold was seen by 100 people or 1 million, I can implore you that if 1 million people who are actually looking to buy a home saw that property, you probably get a better price. I don't care what market it's in. So keep in mind, that's something you need to think about. And I really think that's the first step when it comes to doing that. Now, in most states, it's going to be hard when you have tenants in the property, no matter how many units are occupied. A lot of people want to completely vacate the property. Now, if that's able to be done by the seller, I think that's the best way to do it sometimes. And here's why. So you can completely empty the property, but again, then you or the seller, if you're an agent, now has to carry that cost of the home in the sale, right? You're carrying that mortgage until that home sells. And in San Diego, multifamily properties are sitting for a month before getting an offer, sometimes less, sometimes more. There's not common to see multifamily properties that are now 45 days on market, right? And now you're carrying multiple months of full mortgage without tenants in place. So I don't really recommend that. At the very least, maybe you switch your tenants to a month-to-month lease, so that way you can kick them out before close, and that way the owner knows they're taking it over. Now, from a landlord and an investor standpoint, I can tell you, and I even recommend this to my clients, that when you're in a situation buying a home, you want your own tenants. I don't care even if you're seller or if you are the one selling the property and you have tenants in place, it doesn't matter. Every landlord has their own criteria, their own who they want in the property, their own practices of getting a renter in there. And now you're leaving that buyer with the pain of getting rid of that property. And personally, I think sellers who are looking to buy a property with tenants already in place are ill-informed, because a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times you'll see that the rents are under market. And they're not, especially in this market with rents have gone up so much in the last couple of years, that tenant has been there a long time. They're probably not paying enough. And it's unfortunate. So make sure you put your property to month-to-month leases if they are staying. I think is awesome, because that gives the buyer an opportunity to kick them out before close, or knowing that when they buy the property, they're really only 60 days, a 60-day notice away from clearing it out and getting someone in place, which I think is very important if you're going to sell that property. Now, photos. The marketing part of the property. Look, you have tenants in the property. It fucking sucks. They're probably not going to let them in there. Yes, they have to give access for inspections and stuff like that. But let's be honest, it doesn't mean you're going to get access to the property for photos. And when I sell my investors' properties, I can tell you that more often than not, I don't get any photos of the property. Tenants aren't happy with it. They don't want it. And I completely understand that. So where does that put you? It puts you in a position where, you take photos of the outside, maybe get some drone photos, and that's all you're going to get. Maybe if you do that one vacant unit, at least you get a photo of that unit, and hopefully it's renovated, it looks nice, so that way you can use that as the focal picture marketing piece of the property, which is why I recommend having at least one unit vacant when you sell it, because it just gives you at least something to give buyers an idea to get them in the property. Now, obviously when you sell a regular home, you get like a 3D picture, you get all this stuff that I add for my clients, but with these properties, you're probably not going to get that. It is what it is. But making sure this property, make sure you know what it's renting for, what it could rent for, and make sure you have the last 12 months of income statements and everything lined up, so that way you can give that to all the buyers saying, hey, look what this property could make. Hey, and you just build out scenarios. Whether you're an agent or the seller, you build out scenarios like, hey, if you bought it for this price, 20% down, this is what you could expect to get per month. If you're looking to house hack it, this is how much you would have to pay per month. And you kind of give you want to give dreams, you want to give emotions, like, hey, look what this could do, look what that could do, and that's what you want to do for the property. And understand that, especially for agents, look, the tenants are people. I don't know why I see, even some of my buyers I have to have this conversation with. It's like, hey, tenants are regular people. Some are bad, some are professional renters, right? Like, they know how to play the game and they're a pain in the ass. But, being in a position to where, just work with them, right? Like, work with them, like, hey, are you okay with the property being seen? Do I as the agent need to be present? Does the landlord need to be present? Do you need to be present? Like, what times can work? And as we know, like, there's technology nowadays as agents, like showing time, and there's a lot of other competitors that are coming up that allow the tenant to approve showings. Now, you're not going to get the showing capability that you would normally. And what I say in that case is just, hey, understand that, if there are no times available that you want to see the property, you're only going to get access to the outside, or maybe it has to be a drive-by, or maybe it's only the units that are vacant. It's unfortunate. That's why, yes, a completely vacant property probably going to be the best marketing possible, but you as a seller or your seller is going to have to incur more costs. So I don't really recommend that route. Also, showing a property that is already rented, it does show that, hey, people want to rent this property. And preferably if it's a tenant that's market value rent, even better. I don't know freaking why. Like, there's so many landlords that own multifamily properties who just, they undervalue their market rent. Look, the market dictates the price. Yes, it sucks that people are struggling to pay rent because it's so expensive, but it is what it is. You want that property to get the max value because you're trying to sell it for top dollar. Now, one thing I want to encourage you to do, that if let's say the seller owns multiple multifamily properties, keep in mind, even if it's residential properties, you can buy multiple properties under what's called a portfolio loan. So if you're an agent or an investor who has a list of other investors who buy these types of homes, I implore you to go down the commercial purchase route, which, even though you're the agent selling the multifamily properties residentially, people can get commercial loans to buy all of the homes together. It's complicated. There's a lot more work that goes into it, because now you're doing inspections and appraisals on all these different properties. But it does allow certain investors to buy all these properties at once. Now, you probably won't get the top dollar per property, so keep that in mind. But if you already have a seller who's done with landlording and wants to just offload everything, that's a potential option for some of the buyers that you may have, at least exploring it as an option. And maybe you put that in the MLS listing. Say, hey, the seller has all these listings open to, he is open to selling them all at once with a portfolio loan. So it's something that's really cool to think about. Now, aside from that, it's really just, working with a tenant. That's the biggest part. Those are the biggest flaws I see with multifamily property. It's just look, you got to work with the tenant. I had a situation where the seller just was, oh my God, you got the sky and the moon last year, and still it wasn't enough. And unfortunately, the tenant had to be relocated. They couldn't afford rent. And even though they needed a certain price for rent, they were like, hey, I can leave the property because this buyer wants to buy it to move in. We gave the notice to vacate for the tenant. Even though I didn't get paid, I helped the tenant find a place that was in their budget and said, here you go. Because obviously in California at that time, I didn't really make money with getting people into rentals, but I did it to make sure everyone was happy in the transaction. Because as agents, our job is to get deals closed with as little problems as possible. There's always problems. Come up with a solution and just be a human. Just help people out. Like, you'll be amazed, right? And that's what I think that's the hardest part about multifamily properties. People get worried about dealing with the tenants. They're just people, right? Like, maybe it's a single mom with kids. Maybe like just learning who the tenant is, like trying to meet with them and say, hey, this is what's going on. Yes, I am here to represent the seller of the home, the landlord. I'm here to sell this home for them, but I want to make sure you're taken care of too. You will be amazed at probably it'll avoid a lot of bad situations that you can be in that property. But I think in this current market, recap of everything, having at least one unit vacant is awesome, because now you're opening the property up to house hackers and people who want to owner occupy one unit. I'm telling you, I really recommend it in this current environment. 2, maybe switching all tenants to month leases, or at least, like I said, at least one unit being month to month, so that way they can be kicked out if you have a buyer that wants to occupy the property. Making sure you let the buyers in MLS show that fact so they know. If there's multiple properties that the seller's selling or you're trying to sell, really be open to a portfolio loan, because you never know. Like, some buyers might be buying a home and you say, hey, are you looking for other multifamily properties? Well, yes, I am. Have you looked at doing a commercial portfolio loan? I don't know. People really just don't know that information. So having that knowledge, really important. Marketing the property. Look, all the marketing channels still apply. If you can get pictures, fantastic, get pictures. Try and get the nicest pictures possible, but realize if there's tenants in place, you're not probably going to get the best ones, and most multifamily properties are probably not upkept that well, so make sure that's going to be an issue you're going to have to work with. But this really could be a really special asset class, especially in this current expensive environment. So take that into account. And if you haven't looked at selling any, or you haven't looked at marketing to these types of owners, I implore you to really look at it. I know I'm now looking at owner-occupied multifamily properties and saying, hey, are you looking to sell? Are you looking to sell? Are you looking to buy another one? Because you're going to get that opportunity. And I really think it's a massive opportunity in most markets, because agents just don't know how to sell them. They don't know how to walk through that process. They don't understand that, hey, if the property is a half acre, maybe we spend the money to get plans for an ADU. You don't have to build the ADU, but then we advertise, hey, you can get a third unit built on this property, and this could be your estimated rental income and cost of this unit. All of that matters. It's multifamily. So you're doing the residential, but also you have to think a little commercial. You have to think of numbers. What could it rent for? What could the investor net take home? That's the information that you need to have in hand. So I hope this video gave you value. If you are looking to make a brokerage and be aligned with like-minded people like myself who think like this, and we do this every single day to help each other grow and prosper and do more deals. Some are popping up below is how you can get a hold of me. Call me, text me, email me, doesn't matter. I'm here to help you when moving to eXp Realty or just having a conversation about it. Or maybe you're a seller who wants to sell multifamily homes. Same concept applies. I don't care what state you're in. I have partners and am licensed in multiple states, so I am happy to help you walk through that process. And maybe you want to buy more, maybe you want to move. I tell you, Florida's a hot ticket right now. So hope you got value in this video. Look forward to seeing you in the next one.